Okay, we are live. I just need to make sure everything is working as I expect it. Right now, I should be streaming on YouTube, so I'm just gonna make sure that that's happening. It says it's connected. Oh boy, first time, first time. Hey, we're in. So if you are streaming from YouTube, it's a little bit of a lag. Um, I am kind of like monitoring that page just to make sure that I can see what's going on. But welcome. This is the live actually live resume review sessions. So we're gonna get started with it. To actually, first things first, if you are watching from YouTube, I'm gonna post the link to my email address that you can send your resume to, so I can actually get it and then edit it. This is my professional email. If you didn't know, I started a business back in 2022. Of course, with all the tech crashes, it was a tech company. It did not end up lasting that long, but I wanted to say that I still have the domain and I also still have that email. So I'm using it as my professional email for now, and I will edit your resume and send it back to you after that. Yeah, this session is pretty much where I just live stream myself speaking on resume particular topics, sometimes interview topics, sometimes getting questions from the audience members, like a Q&A type session on essentially how you can go about making sure that you are, I guess, making your resume, making your interview as solid as possible so you can land a tech job. Now, I don't come from a traditional tech background. I'm actually a biologist by degree, and I ended up getting into tech by just personal interest. So I'm a self-taught developer who did an apprenticeship program at Microsoft for 6 months, and then after that program, I ended up getting hired on full time, working for about 2 years and 7 months. Yeah, got hit unfortunately with some tech layoffs. So we are here now just trying to give back to the community the skill sets that I have. Let me go ahead and post in the chat where you can send your resume to. And if you found me on Eventbrite, most likely you can find it there as well. Okay. So this is I'll post this in the chat in the YouTubes. In the yusufcorr at standardsoftconsulting.com. That should be good to go. All right, we're going to get into it. I don't know if we have any views yet, but hopefully people come trickling in. The session starts at 9, ends at 11 a.m. PST or PDT. So if you are interested in showing up, if friends are interested in showing up, again, send resumes directly to my professional email. I will edit those asynchronously and then send them back. And if you are tuning in for the session, welcome. So today we're going to talk about something a little bit unique. It's going to be how to create a template-based resume that will be, it's like a multi-purpose resume that will serve pretty much every purpose when we're talking about a single page resume used to either send out to an interviewer quicker or to a recruiter quickly. Just be like, hey, here's my one pager. Here's everything that makes me look professional and looks good for this role if you wanted to know. And it's something that you can easily just send out, right? You don't want to have to think too much about it. Let's say you go to a networking event and there are some people there. They're like, hey, if you have your resume on you, I'd love to see it. Something you just quickly send out, right? And you might use the same one to apply for a job. But in particular, this is the resume that's like your go-to, right? It's like all-purpose flour. You can use it for everything. That's kind of how I like to say it. And today we're going to focus on the basics. Now, I had wanted to make a video about this because I didn't end up doing my stream last week. And I filmed everything yesterday and the audio did not work. I was so frustrated by that. So we're going to do it all again live, but I think that's going to give the viewers a little bit of a chance to see my process in creating a resume. Okay, so I'm just going to open up a Word doc here and I'm going to start from scratch. Now I have a resume out. Right? I have my own resume that I've been editing and working with for a while now, but I want to show the viewers what I go through. What's my process of going through my resume when I'm trying to create this from scratch. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and present. I'm going to share my screen. Now, I hope I don't. It says to use 2 monitors. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to get this set up real quick. I usually have 2 monitors on, or at least most of the time. So let me go ahead and do that without having to worry. Display. And then we want to extend. And if everything goes right, keep changes. I should still have. Okay, cool. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I'm going to share my entire screen. This is screen one. I hate when that happens, but it's kind of funny. If you are tuning in from the YouTubes, I will be able to actually send you stuff in the chat, because right now, at least when it comes to my second screen, I'm not going to be able to see it. So yeah, this is technically what I want. What an interesting thing. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, let me go ahead and close this. Let's go ahead and, is this still doing the thing where it's filming me inside filming me, but how? Okay, it's a little odd, I won't lie, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. So first thing I'm gonna show you all is where I go to find free resume resources on basically how do you create a resume. Let's say I had no idea, starting from scratch, no idea, never created a resume before. I'm graduating college or I've been out of college and I haven't updated my resume and it's not getting me the traction that I want. So I'm getting my resume out there, but I'm not getting the responses I want, right? Or I've never created a resume ever, and I'm just trying to figure out what that particular technical documentation is supposed to look like. We're going to start with this. So where I usually go to start is I go to UW-Bothell, so University of Washington, and Bothell. So, and the reason why I'm going here is because this is actually my college. I graduated from UW-Bothell, and there is, if you type in resume, you can see that essentially this will take you to a page where you can see all of the free career resources that exist for University of Washington Bothell. This is amazing because it allows for you to have those free resources and utilize them without having to worry about paying for them. So actually, this is my first point. Let me actually, I'm sorry about this for the viewers. I got to configure my screen real quick. So I'm going to do that just real quick. I stop sharing my screen. Let me come back real quick. It's a little all over the place for today. I apologize. Okay. There we go. And now I should be able to share my screen again. Screen number 2, share. So I don't have 2 monitors set up. It's something I actually need to do because this is kind of annoying. I'm planning on getting 2 monitors or one of those wider screen ones so I can like split the screen in half and share my screen this way. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take a look at these free resources. Now again, UW-Bothell, you could type it in as in UW-B. Let's go to a new browser tab, UW-B resume. This should get you the same thing. Yep, University of Washington Bothell, and it says resume-career services. You'll know it's what the same link I'm talking about because it says UW-B. I'm going to go ahead and click on this as well, and I'm going to post this in the chat. Can I share my resume with you? Of course. Send it over. Email is above. Also, free resources are in the chat as well. When I open the window up, it does this multiple layer thing. Unfortunately, I need to find a way to use my chat. I might have to disconnect and reconnect, but I kind of want to. I don't want to do that this time. So if you are going to watch this video on repeat, I am going to save it. You're probably going to get those times where you see like those multiple screens for sharing my screen. Wow, recording on my screen, so it's kind of weird like that. But yes, this is the first resource I just wanted to share with everyone here. It's free. You don't need to be a University of Washington student. You can navigate to it by just clicking on the link that I've posted in the chat, or just going UW resume and navigating to resumes-career services-UW. Okay, why did I take us here? The reason is I got trained as a career advisor at University of Washington, and this is the knowledge that I am basically pulling from. So everything I have to teach you, everything that I have to share comes from this particular website and this particular resource. There's nothing that's going to be outside of this that I can't share with you. What I'm doing is putting more of like a human interface, as well as directing people to these resources for as long as they're free, and making sure that people know where to go to get this type of information. So another thing I wanted to say is this is a free resource. And a lot of times I've seen people come to me with paid resume advice. And the resumes are not what I would consider professional, right? It's too much colors. There's too much design going on, where when we talk about resumes, we want it cold, cut, professional, straight to the point. It doesn't need to be fancy. There are very few cases in which a resume is going to need all of those extra design elements, right? Color, stuff like that. And in most cases, this resume is going to be, again, your all-purpose flower, get the job done, right? If you want something a little bit more specialized, they have extra sample resumes for like an internship, international resumes, veterans, accounting resumes, right? Education. So the breakdown in terms of the nuances and the differences, I think this particular resource does a good job of highlighting how resumes differ, right? So it's not saying that you can't make it a little bit different, right? You can't structure it a little differently, but it's just saying that when you do that, you want to make sure you follow some type of consistent resume format, so that you're still getting the interviewer or the resume reviewer what they need to know that you can do this job. Hopefully people can hear me. I have my mic kind of set to the side of myself because I don't want to give you the P's and T's when I speak into it. It gets bad. So we're gonna just do it like this for now. And again, I'm doing this live stream session as like a real-time editing of my resume. Please send your resume to my email. I posted that in the chat. It's also on the Eventbrite. If you found me on LinkedIn, you can send it directly to my LinkedIn. I'm gonna edit resumes and send it back async. So we won't be editing it on screen. I want to keep your information private a little bit, even though resumes are something you will be giving out to the general public. This is just to help add, confidentiality. I will edit your resume async, send it back to you, and we will carry on from there. This will be a live stream of just me going through resources, resume techniques, and then building resumes as well. Okay, so I'm going to open up my Word doc, and blank page, nothing's on it, right? So I'm going to show you how I move from scratch. And the first thing we're going to start with is our name. Actually, let me not put my name. Let me put your name, right? And this is going to be first and, well, last. Okay, that's the first section that you have on your resume, right? So the reason why we start with our name is we want the interviewer to know, hey, from the bat, I am yusufcorr. I am Jonathan Smith, right? Jane Doe. We want them to remember your name. Now, I'm pretty sure if I read up on resume history that that's there for a purpose. But the way that I like to explain it and the way that I found its usefulness is we don't want them to forget who we are. We want them to know from the start, oh yeah, that's yusufcorr. I talked to him, right? Or this is yusufcorr. Yeah, he told me he wanted to apply to this and he has a pretty good looking resume. Get your name circulating, get your name in their head so that they aren't going to easily forget about you. And I think that's the way that I've come to understand why we put our resume at the start, at the top. Usually I'll do something like bolding it and I'll make it a little bit bigger in terms of the size. I don't go above 16. If you're gonna make your name a little bit bigger, like 18 size font, you're doing what I say a little too much. So 16 is the largest I would go with your name. It will still pop at that particular size, and I bold it too, just to make sure that they're seeing my name at the top. That's the first thing you're gonna add. The second thing you're gonna add is personal. Actually, let me not say personal because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Professional, right? Contact information. So this is different than personal contact information, right? Professional contact information is using your professional email, right? If you don't have a professional email, use your school email, like from UW. So when I was going to school, UW, right, I had two email addresses. I had Corey@uw.edu. I also had my personal email, yusufcorr@gmail.com. Which one do you think I'm going to use? If you said my professional email or my school email, that's correct, right? And even if I don't have a professional email at the time, right, you want to try to use your most professional email if you have one, right? Now, you don't need to create another email address. If you only have a Gmail, that's perfectly fine. I have a domain email, so that's the one that I've been asking people to send their resumes to. So it's yusufcorr@standardconsulting.com. It's a little long, but it works, right? This is my professional email that I'm actually going to be giving out. So if you have a school email, if you have a professional email, right, and this Corey@uw.edu, it still technically works. If I send email to that particular address, it reroutes to my Gmail. So I might even leave that on my resume because it does two things for me. One, it shows that I'm either in school or at a job, or I was at school and I was at a job, right? So it's a professional contact. And that can give yourself a little bit of a boost of status. If they see that, oh, you have a Corey@harvard.edu, it's just a nice ring to it, right? Just a little nice ring to it, little seasoning right there on your steak. But also it's a professional contact, right? So you don't want to just give them personal information, personal contact. When we create our resumes, we want to tailor it to be professional. Now, the reason why I'm saying this and trying to make this point is I've met people who too often will have a lot of personal contact information that wasn't really called for. And what I mean by that is like their address, where they live, right? Talking the difference between a professional email or a personal email, they'll have their personal email, right? They'll have a YouTube that doesn't really have professional content. So it's not necessary to add that bit of professional or personal information or contact information when we're trying to go for a professional appeal. So again, I just say that to just quickly, I guess, show the difference between personal and professional. Professional is going to include professional emails, school emails, if applicable, your mobile phone number if you have one, right? If you have a work phone, maybe that. And then maybe like your GitHub, right? GitHub is professional, I would say, and LinkedIn. So these particular bits of contact information are worth putting on your resume. Everything else outside of that, leave it out. It's not necessary. It's not important. Also, it's technically illegal for an employer to ask for your address before they are in the hiring process. And they can't discriminate against race, gender, and ethnicity. So there's other things that you don't really need to tell the resume or the resume reviewer or the interviewer. And it's also illegal for them to ask for in the first place before hiring you. So it's not necessary to put that on your resume. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and do professional contact information. And with that explanation out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and just say email, phone. Usually I'll do my mobile. Mobile counts as both professional and personal. And then I will do like LinkedIn. And then I will do any professional profiles online. I guess a better way of saying that is any online professional profiles. But generally speaking, your email, phone, LinkedIn, that will get you out the door, right? If you're a software developer like me, GitHub, because GitHub is a professional portfolio showing your coding ability, right? And if you actually work for, say, a bigger company like Microsoft or Amazon, some companies actually interface with open source based software or the open source community, and you will actually be doing work for them while also being able to demonstrate your skills for this larger company while being able to have it publicly available or visible on GitHub. And when I was at Microsoft, that's actually one thing that I did. I made code changes on GitHub, but was using those same software internally in our own way. So that's kind of cool, right? So now that we have our contact information out the way, we have our name, we have our last name, we're going to go ahead and move down to some of these sections, right? So this would be your header for the resume. And the next part would be kind of like your sections that break up and divide your resume into bite-sized pieces of important information. That's a lot of jargon I just said, but before we get into that, let me go ahead and do two other things. The first thing is you might notice that every time I create a new line, there's a lot of space in between. And that's not a good thing. We don't want to waste space on a resume. So outside of knowing what to put on a resume, you also need to know how to structure your resume. And these two things are the things I feel like people struggle with the most. How do I structure it and what do I put? So we're kind of dealing with structure for now. And to follow that similar, I guess, vein, we're going to go ahead and add some more details to the structure. It's nuanced, but I think it counts. When I see resumes that use a lot of white space, I wouldn't say it's a turnoff. I don't really like to use that word. It's morning for me, and I'm trying to think of some good terms. I'm gonna try to like make sure I say stuff that's like, I don't know, professional. But yeah, a bad use of white space is not a good sign for a resume reviewer, right? Now, again, this is what I was taught. It might not be what is the 2023 standard, but from what I've learned, you want to try to utilize white space effectively. Now, it doesn't mean you go crazy and you add literally so much that it's like a brick of text, but you want to allow your resume to have enough space to carry out its particular goal. And to do that, you do want to make sure that you're utilizing your margins well, right? So I like to just click up here in the headers. You can actually do a left click a couple of times, just left, 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 left. It's going to bring up this page setup, and I decrease my margins to 0.5. Now it's going to make things look a little strange, but the reason why I do that is so I can utilize as much space as possible. Watch what happens when I say okay. So it makes things go up and it makes things go right and left, but the more important part is it makes me have more space. I now have a lot more space to fill up so much more on this resume, right? You can even decrease your margins to about 10, I think or not 10, but 0.1. I think that's a little much. I would say within 0.3, 0.3, 0.5 range is a good way to expand to decrease the white space, but also not too much to the point where it's like your letters are all literally on the side of the page. So some margins are good, but you do want to utilize as much space as possible, and decreasing the margins is a perfect way to get more space. Next, we're going to go ahead and get back to the actual spacing between each line, and I usually remove it. So this is a new feature in Word, and I haven't used Word for a while. Back in the day, I would use Word a lot, but you can actually just click on this by highlighting my text and then going to the paragraph section of Word in the general home menu. You can actually click down on this context menu and then just say, I guess, remove space. I already removed the space, so there isn't any more space to remove. Let me actually go add it back, and let's see what happens when I click back on this context menu. There it is. It says remove space after paragraph. I just clicked that to get rid of that space. Now, this does mean I need to be a little bit more intentional about my spacing, but it puts that control in my hands, right? So if I wanted to create a space and I wanted to have an education section after this, I can do that. And so the spacing is something that I control. So when we talk about structure, when we talk about making the structure to your appeal, this is where I feel like you can take the power back in your hands, right? By decreasing the white space, but in between each line, by decreasing the margin space, I can then play with space in my own way, but still follow a similar resume format. And that would be a good goal if you want to start getting into designing your resume to have a structure that fits your particular purpose, or just designing it in a way that's unique to you. Okay, so after I have my professional information up there, I'll usually start with my education section. After my education section, I usually have a skills section. Now, this is something I've added due to the fact that I've always been in a technical role. I'll talk a little bit more about the skills section in a minute. By the way, we're going to have a Q&A session at the very end. I'm going to actually just jump back on, stop sharing my screen, and look at the different stuff people are saying in chat. Right now, I'm just going to quickly share this information, get it out there, and then we'll move back to a Q&A type format. Once again, if you're joining, you can send your resume to the link that is already there in the chat. If you found me on LinkedIn, you can send it to my LinkedIn. If you found me on Eventbrite, my email should be there in the description. But send it to my professional email. I'm going to edit those asynchronously. What that means is I'm going to edit it on my own time and send it back to you after I'm done with the actual session. So you don't have to worry about me getting to you right now, but I will be getting to you by the end of the day. After skills, I'll add a relevant experience section. And then the last one would be additional experience. Okay, and this is the basic template format that I would use for a resume. Literally, that's it. This is exactly what my resume would look like. Now, given that I have been a software developer for 3 years, I can play with these sections, right? I can change it to fit my particular purpose. So instead of relevant experience, I could say software development, right? That's one way that I can start to play with these sections is by titling it based on the particular role that I'm trying to apply to, right? Or I can call this one a little bit more generic, engineering, right? I'm getting a point across. I'm saying this isn't a section for experience. This is a section specifically for engineering experience. So my resume reviewer doesn't have to think too hard about where he needs to look to say, or where he, she, I guess pronouns wise, they need to look to say, oh, this is experience based on engineering. They already know. I'm making it easier for them to see that. And that's important because when we have these different sections, right? There are times when I've seen sections like school experience, and then it's like work experience, and then it's like relevant experience, additional experience. We want to title these sections so that people can easily identify what they need to know or what they need to look for to know that we're a good fit for this role. All right, so that right there takes care of that. I'm actually going to run with that. I don't actually title my section engineering experience. It's currently relevant experience. That works fine. But I think from now on, I'm going to use engineering experience since I decided my career is going to be in engineering. So again, if you are teaching, you could call this maybe like, teaching experience, right? If you're going into the medical field, you can call it medical experience or medical shadowing, right? You can play with these sections how you want. And actually, to that point, I'm going to call this medical lab experience. And we'll call this volunteer. Right, this is one way we could play with this medical lab experience, right? Volunteering experience or hard to type and think at the same time and talk at the same time. This is my first time streaming ever, so I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Medical lab experience, shadowing experience. This is another way you can do it, right? Or volunteering experience. So, and the reason why I say this is I edited a resume from somebody who was going into medical school. Most likely they will. They're very bright individual. They're very dedicated and motivated, and I have a high likelihood that they'll probably achieving their goals. If you're watching this, shout out to you. Keep doing the work that you're losing my words. Keep doing the work that you're doing. It's already looking so well. You're a very bright student. Back to the subject. So I edited a resume that had a lot of shadowing experience for the medical field, and the structure was weird because it sometimes had the shadowing experience in the relevant experience section, but then it also would combine that with like actual work experience. And I was feeling like we could break this down in a way that just easily divided the two, but then showed and highlighted, hey, I've committed to being someone who would shadow people, but I've also committed to being in the labs, being in the medical profession and getting paid from it. And I feel like those two are a little different because when you shadow, you're watching, you're taking notes, you're learning. But when you're actually working, right, it's a little bit more hands-on. It's a little bit more like you're responsible for something a little bit more than you would be as a shadower. So I felt that breaking the resume up into something along the lines of shadowing, maybe not shadowing because from the start, if you're just reading this, you might not know what shadowing is, but like medical volunteer, and then like something like a medical lab practitioner or medical lab practitioner experience, it helped to break the resume up in a way that if I were reviewing this for a medical position or a medical lab position, I would be able to quickly see, oh, here's volunteering, right? Or volunteering as a shadow. And here's where you actually worked in the lab. So I think we ended up doing something like either lab or research experience, and then something like volunteer. And I guess you could just say volunteer experience, right? Something like this allows for a resume reviewer to say, okay, well, here's where you're actually doing research and here's where you're volunteering. But all of this is good information for the interviewer to know because it helps to bring out the best in you, in your resume, right? So play with it how you want. Don't go too crazy. Right? If it starts getting more than three words long, maybe stick to relevant experience for the time being until you find something a little simpler. But volunteer experience, research experience, all that is perfectly fine if you want to use those as sections to break it up. And again, for me, I'm going to go ahead and do engineering. And I'm going to do additional. Okay, cool. So that's the general template. Well, let's get a little bit more into it. I'm going to spend 10 more minutes doing this, and then we'll take a look at some questions, Q&A. We're going to actually add some information to this resume, right? I'm going to create a mock version of what this resume would look like. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Save as. Let's go ahead and go into this PC. Should be bringing it up soon. There it is. We'll go to documents. I'll just call this resume template. I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm also going to go ahead and close this out because we don't need that anymore. And I'm going to hop back on my file explorer and I'm going to open. Let's go to documents, my resume basics. Now, hopefully I didn't, did I say this has a, oh, this is a, okay, I had a slideshow to present to people about the basics. And I think I'll cover that. I think I'll cover it next time or in a YouTube video so that you can actually review and watch this without having to, this is like a stream. So it's real time, right? This is not rehearsed, unfortunately. So I want to make sure that you all can see all this information. And I think I'll probably make a YouTube video about that soon. Where did I save this? I saved, because I was making a resume the other day and I was doing it for this particular purpose. Grad form. Is it downloads? It's definitely not that. No, it's not any of that. Okay. So let me just open up another Word document. And I'm just going to open up resume template. I'm going to edit it, but I'm not going to save it because I want the template to be something that I could just send out to people if they need it. And instead, I'm going to just edit it to show you what it could look like. And then if you ever need a template, you can go back to this. So this is the basic template I would use for a resume. Okay, so I'm going to fill in my name first, yusufcorr, right? You can make it caps. You can make it not caps. It's up to you. I like the caps. For me, it feels very powerful. So I'm going to leave that there. Professional information, I'll start with my email, yusufcorr@Stanford Soft Consulting. Consulting.com. I really need to get for my professional email. I'm trying to get that a little bit less. Let's see, yusufcorr Standard Soft Consulting.com. Okay, cool. We have that there. Next, I'm gonna do my phone number. So 42. This is not my phone number, so don't try to call me. Don't try to text me. I love y'all, but I'm gonna keep it a little separate for now. This is a fake phone number, so don't call it. I watched this YouTube video one time and this guy, I think, put his number on the screen and then people started to like spam it. And I know I got some developers in here. So if I ever piss one of you off and you make a chat bot that just sends me a bunch of text, that'll be very sad for me. I hope that's not the case and it never happens. But anyway, this is a random number. Please don't text it or call it. I just make it up. 425-123 456-7. Okay. Right. And then let's do my GitHub. So my GitHub is actually yusc3.github.io. And this is actually my GitHub page. So it will take you to a static web page that I haven't edited in a while. I think I'm probably going to edit it soon because I want to update it, but it's a static web page that just shows some projects. This is something I made really quickly when I first started getting into programming with HTML. I'm going to go back and update this because I have so much more projects that I've made. Had a hackathon I participated in. I've made a bunch of code on my own. So I'm going to update this. But if you click on these links, they actually take you to the repos. So this is actually like a cool, quick, and easy way to demonstrate your skills and abilities as a developer. That's why I put my GitHub page on there, because it has the power to have that type of strength. Highly recommend it if you're a developer. Make a GitHub page. It tests your web development skills as a static page. You don't have to pay for it. So really cool. We highly recommend you making one. And then last but not least, I'll do my LinkedIn. So it starts with linkedin.com/ and then you can actually edit your LinkedIn link to be your particular name. And it's highly recommended that you do that too. So that once again, when you click on these links, it's personalized and it takes you to your particular page. Maybe lowercase y. No, it's not that. LinkedIn.com. Okay, now I'm kind of curious. What is it? What is it though? I feel like this is the right one. Am I wrong? Is it me? Am I the drama? Do you all know that meme where it's like, am I the drama? That's me right now. I feel like I'm the drama. Okay, let's click on settings. Where's my LinkedIn link? What is going on here? Name, industry, account settings, sign in. No, this is not correct. What if I click on myself? Oh, it's LinkedIn/n. Okay, they updated their URLs. So instead of linkedin.com/your name, it's LinkedIn-n. This should take me to my account. And you do want to test these links before you just put them on your page, because when you give this to someone who will review your resume, they will actually try to navigate through these links and see what's popping, right? They'll see what's going on there. Okay, that's where I went to school. That was the company I started that I ended quickly. I have actually so much things on here. If you're interested in going here and checking out my LinkedIn, I'm going to quickly paste that in the chat. And I'm going to do it super fast so it doesn't do that whole lagging situation. Okay, looks like we got someone sending the resume to me directly. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that, and I will review it later on. But nice to have you here. Thank you for showing up. And you can either check back asynchronously, stay on the chat until the Q&A. But if you have your resume in, if it's in, I'll take a look. I'll send it right back. Okay, getting back to it. So I'm adding my GitHub, I added my LinkedIn, and usually actually I add my LinkedIn first. I consider it to be a little bit more professional. My GitHub last. Cool. Education. Let's get into it. Bachelor's. I believe it's Bachelor's of Science, right? And I usually do. You can split up your title and where you got it from, right? Job title, company, degree, school, right? Certificate, title, the organization that gave you your certificate. Split it up however you want. Try to highlight what you did. So I know a lot of times people will add something like University of Washington, right? That was spelled so fast and so wrong. They'll add University of Washington first, and then they'll add their degree. But you're highlighting the school, right? And not yourself. The thing is, yes, you got a degree from University of Washington, but more importantly, you got a degree. And more importantly, you got a degree in a particular field, right? And that can help bolster your resume. So I don't like to highlight the school or the organization, not because I don't pay homage to them, but when I want to stand out, if I'm trying to stand out on my resume, I highlight myself and then I highlight the school afterwards. And usually what I'll do is I'll leave this like that and I'll italicize this. You can do it however you want, but generally speaking, I try to keep the stuff I want a resume reviewer to look at consistent as well as concise. And I want what I want them to see about myself to pop more than this other bit of, I would say it's relevant, but less relevant information. And on the very end, you add your dates. Now, for your dates, you generally add your month and year, right? I usually space that to the very end. So I'm going to actually quickly say that this is going to be month, year, to some month and some year, right? Now, if your date is that you're going to graduate, specifically for education sections, you want to say like graduated. Oh, I'm spelling everything wrong. Or graduating. One of the two. Graduated, graduating. Up to you. If you're graduating, say graduating and then month and year. If you graduated, then you say graduated and then just month and year. For other experiences outside of education, you want to add a range, right? And the range is going to be the month and year of your employment. And if you're still employed, you would just say present. Okay. I'll quickly leave that there. That's my education section, right? Now, my skills section, slightly controversial. You don't want to put soft skills, right? So soft skills are like good communicator, right? Excellent team player. Great. That's good to know. But skills are usually, the skills section is better utilized for technical skills. Now, you can add soft skills, but they kind of have to be soft technical skills, right? Like UML diagramming is a technical skill that's somewhat soft for software development, or Scrum, right? This is like our daily stand-up that we do. And it's kind of, for a technical role, you would need to know what Scrum is, and like Agile, right? Agile is a way of iterating through a sprint or iterating to complete a product. And essentially, they're kind of softer skills, but they're still technical. When you say good at communicating, what do you mean by that, right? That's too broad. It's too ambiguous. Are you good at communicating through text? Are you good at communicating through email? Are you just good at communicating in plural? Are you good at communicating through, conflict? That's why I don't use soft skills. If you want to highlight your soft skills, do so in your experience section, right? Say, collaborate with 3 different teams to design and deliver 5 different features for this spec, displaying excellent communication in the process by sending out a weekly email on updates, right? That's a resume bullet. Very strong. It shows that I'm a good communicator. So the skills section, try to keep it technical. You don't have to do complete technical like C#, right? Java. You can do UML, you can do Scrum, you can do Agile. But if you are going to do a skills section, it needs to be technical based. Not always like strictly technical, but technically inclined, right? Soft skills, just explain that through your experience. And even more importantly, during your interview, you will be able to bring out those soft skills directly, because you will be communicating and explaining your skill sets through communication. So yeah, just a note right there. What I like to do for skills, I like to do either a column or I'll do a single row, and I'll just do space by commas, like Agile, Scrum, right? We'll do Agile real quick. C#, Java, right? And this is a quick way you can do skills. I'll leave it at that for now because we're running a little low on time. Let's go to the next section in this engineering experience, okay? This is where I'm going to get into the crux, right? The meat of where all of my experience is coming from, right? Up until this point, I've just shown, hey, I have skills and I have a degree. But now I need to talk about what I've actually done to show them that, hey, I have the skills to do this job. So let's get into that. What that's going to look like is, again, we're going to have what I like to say experience headers. And it's going to start with my job title, right? The company. And then at the very end, again, I'm going to have my dates. And this particular format is different than the education format where I have to say month and year to some month and year. Now, if I have employment still ongoing, I'm still at this company, right? I'm still working hard, then what I can say is present, right? It's a quick way of getting that information to the employer. I don't have to specify the month and year. There's no real reason to. The other thing I want to say is when it comes to month and year, you can shorten the month, right? If you want to change September, instead of September, that's a little bit long, right? I can change it to Sept, as long as I keep it somewhat consistent, right? So if I have November, it has to be like Nov, right? Instead of November, because it's not consistent. So I guess another thing to say is just keep what you're doing in your resume consistent. Doesn't really matter. Sometimes some of these things like dates is a little bit more like it's up to you, I do recommend using month and year and the range for job-based experience. But if you do want to use the full month, be my guest. Just make sure that it's consistent, right? So I'll just say September 2025. I'm kind of making this up to present, right? Job title, we'll just say front end developer. And the company will be Twitch. Ever worked there? It might be interesting to work there. I don't know. Yeah. I'm somewhat job hunting right now, so if I see a Twitch application, I might just throw it in there. Making myself laugh. Let's go ahead and get into it. So this is the header, right, for your experience. The next thing you want to add is 3 to 5 bullets discussing what, how much / many, why, and learned. That's a lot. But basically what I'm saying is for your experiences, you want to have 3 to 5 bullets discussing what you did, how you did it, how much or how many in terms of like, I worked with 25 customers or I impacted 50 businesses. I raised our base revenue from 20 to 30%, right? Something like that. I'm kind of throwing out some random numbers, but the how many is something I feel like that lacks from a lot of resumes. And it's what takes a beginner entry-level resume to something that's a little bit more intermediate, right? And when you can combine the what, the how many, and the why or the learned into one bullet point and have 4 to 5 for each experience, now we're getting into the advanced section, right? So this is how you want to structure your resume. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and add another bullet, right? We'll call this bullet. And it's not really the script. We'll have to talk more about this in the next section. It's because I don't have enough time to go into this right now because we're running a little bit late, that we're just going to keep it like this. But let's say I had my experience, I had 3 to 5 bullet points. Okay, then I move on to the next one, right? And then I finish my engineering experience, and this would be all of my engineering-based roles for a software development position. Now I'd get into my additional experience. And to quickly just close this out, you would do your additional experience the exact same way you do your engineering experience, which is you add a experience header, 3 to 5 bullets discussing the various bits of information that I mentioned here. And this is pretty much what my resume will look like. Now, of course, if I fill this out a little bit more, you would start to see me using up more white space, right? Because there's just still a lot of stuff that's just templatized. There isn't really enough information here for this to be a strong resume. Of course, there's just a template. But for a template, this is a good starter template. This resume, again, is like your all-purpose flower. It will get you in the door. It will do its job more often than not. It will get resume reviewers looking at your resume, discussing your resume, sending it out. If you don't know where to start, this is a perfect place to start. Now, we're going to get more into bullets. So I'll save this, actually. I'll save it as a second copy because I want to get into how do we create effective bullets. I don't think we're going to be able to get at that today. But resume bullets are one of the things that I feel like a lot of people still need to be reminded of, I guess, the more important parts of how to create a resume bullet, right? It's not how much bullets you have. It's not how concrete and not concrete, but it's not how, I guess, lavish you can be with your language. I know some people who are like developed multi-processes, and it's like you're over explaining something that you could do with a little less diction. You do want to diversify how you explain what you're doing, but you don't need to do so until the point where it's like, wow, I have to go and now Google disingenuous for some reason. Not to say that you're using that word, but yeah, it's not about being too lavish. It's also not about being too sparse or creating so much bullets. It's about having 3 to 5 concrete bullets that get the job done. We'll talk more about that in the next session. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Click my stop sharing screen so you can see me now. And I'm actually going to quickly just make it so that you can only see my second, or I can only see my second screen. We'll get back into answering some questions. So this is going to be the Q&A section. If you have tuned in, I appreciate you all. thank you so much. And we are going to take a look at some questions. So we got a resume sent to my professional email. Once again, thank you. That's exactly what we need to do. If you want me to review your resume, just send it to my professional email and I will take a look at it later on. Somebody asked, Creative Diva said, hi, do you recommend using the MS Word resume templates? That's a good question. That's a really good question. So what they are talking about, good. Thank you for that question, by the way. I am going to share my screen again because I want to show people, this is actually a good question. I want to show people what these resume templates look like and how I feel like the effectiveness could be used. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I wonder if I can present a particular, I wonder if I can share like a window. I can share a window. What? That's crazy. Okay. First time streaming, but I didn't realize this. I can share a window, which is like my Word window. So now you will only see that. So there are these templates that you can find. I don't know. Yeah, more templates. If you type in resume, I'm pretty sure that will take you to where you want to see resume. Oh, resume and cover letter. So let's click on that. Okay, cool. So you might see a lot of these templates. Like if you use Canva or if you've ever paid for like a resume reviewer service, they sometimes give templates like these. And yeah, I have a problem with them. I have a problem with them because they're doing way too much, right? Like just I'm sorry, it's just his face. It's just and like his hand is like just awkwardly in there, and he's just like, hey, it's like this is a dating profile. What is this? Okay, first issue. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna write this down. We're gonna review Microsoft templates and just talk about which ones are good. MS Word resume templates. This one's not good. Okay, there are some that are good, but you have to be very specific about what you're picking and why. Right? If you don't know why you're picking a particular template, most time, like 9 times out of 10, your interviewer or your resume reviewer is also not going to understand it, right? If I pick this template because I'm like, oh, it looks nice, right? Or I don't really have a specific reason, and it has to be a professional reason, right? Not just it looks nice, right? We're talking about getting a job. So looks nice isn't going to cut it. If you want your resume to look nice, create a basic structure and then edit that structure on your own, right? When we talked about using white space effectively and using the white space, the very few white space bits of white space that you have in a way that makes your resume stand out uniquely to you, this resume already causes a lot of issues. One, it has these weird tabs. These weird tabs have never been a positive for me. It's hard to edit them. Like just clicking on it, it makes this screen pop up. I just clicked it once and now everything has changed. I don't like the way that they structure the resume. It doesn't make it easy for you to edit. That's the first thing. The second thing, the white space that's being used is usually hard to edit as well. I can't just go in and change this weird gray structure. So why is it there? The use of colors is also not something I recommend putting on your resume because if someone is colorblind, then they won't be able to determine one font between another. They just know that this one's a little different in terms of the way it looks, right? So your resume is less accessible to everyone. So when we talk about accessibility, when we talk about white space, when we talk about being able to edit it, this is not going to be your go-to. Also, you don't need a picture on your resume. There's no reason to have that. It's a little bit more personal than professional. Yes, a professional headshot is good, but for a resume, you don't need that. If you're an actor, it might be different. But for the general public that's not going into acting or some type of public figure, you probably won't need that. Again, I deleted that picture, but now I have this weird white space that I can't get rid of. It's just there. This profile section, you most likely won't ever need that. Usually we call this summary. We don't call it profile, and most likely you won't need that. Contact information. It's pretty good in terms of the content, but the way that they're structuring it uses a lot of white space. And then hobbies. This ain't dating. Okay. I know Don Smith looks like he's out here trying to get his next date, right? And if you are, hobbies are great, but for a job, we don't really care about your hobbies, right? We want to care about the fact that you have professional experience. And if anything, hobbies would be volunteer experience, right? Where do I spend my time in a professional sense outside of work? Your name is really big. I mean, you could do that. It works for me, but it's really big. It doesn't need to be size 48. It's a lot. Okay. I'm done joking about this one. Let me take a look at another template. So I think there are some that I might use. There isn't a lot because there's just so much colors like this. Why would you ever make something so yellow? It's like cheese. It's like cheddar cheese. This is the cheddar cheese resume. No, they make two. Oh, no, there's three. There's three different types. Okay, this one's okay, but they just should have stopped at the cheese one. Just don't go past the cheese. It's called Swiss design. I'm gonna call that Swiss cheese. These two are bad. Don't do them. Don't use them. No. I'm having fun with this right now. I do want to be serious. Like, those are just not professional resumes. They're not. This one is solid. This one is okay. This one is actually okay as well. Let me see if I can find one that I actually like. This one I like. I like this one. I like it because of the structure. I like that it's simplistic. It's simple, right? The simplicity of it is really nice. There's no colors. There's nothing crazy going on. I would get rid of my address. You don't need to add that, especially if you're a developer. We can work remotely. I like how they add the LinkedIn, the number, and the email address. Again, very basic. Right? This is a template too. Right? This is a template that I just picked up, and it's already looking like my resume. Right? The one that I just made from scratch. The name is a little big. You don't need 32. I don't know why we're taking up that much space, but we gonna make that 14, right? Or maybe a little bigger. 16 is good because everything else is like around 14. But here's one thing to look at. Look at the margins, right? 0.5. Okay, that's important to note. Now, I'm not sure if that happened because of the way that I had my stuff structured, but if not, I like what they're doing there. The margins are 0.5. Let me see if I can actually take a look at that. It's 0.75, and then it's a little much for the right and left, but everything else is fine, right? I like how they decrease the margins there. You can also see that the spacing, right? The spacing is pretty condensed for the text, and that's important. Profile, again, I don't know why they call it profile. Usually this is called summary, organized, dedicated, ambitious, blah, blah, blah. Summary section, I don't generally include those unless I don't have a cover letter. Experience, like I said, getting straight to the point. You have your dates, you have what you did, you have the job, the organization. They did it differently than I do it, but that's how you would do it. They have the education, again, where you went to school, any certificates. They have a skills section, right? Activities and interests, don't need to add it. But this is a solid resume outside of activities and interests. I would recommend this template, okay? But there's a trade-off, right? If you're using a template, yes, it gives you what you need structurally, but you also have to expect other people to have used that template, right? So you can use a template. It still kind of constrains you to the way the template is created in terms of editing. And then it also constrains you to the fact that other people might have used that same template. So your resume might look very similar. If you edit your resume on your own, you can then play with it however you want. So there is a little bit of a trade-off there. Good question, though. I think I took most of the time up discussing that, but if we have any other questions in the chat, I'll answer those now. Let's take a look. Don't do the Swiss cheese resume. That's all I gotta say. What about overleaf service? I actually don't know what that is. Let's take a look. We'll see. We shall see. So let's see what overleaf is. I'm not going to share my screen for this one, but I'm just going to see. Okay, overleaf is actually, I just typed in overleaf service resume, and it's giving me a lot of good examples, at least from the images alone. But yeah, overleaf is good. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Because I saw something that I was like, no, don't do this. Don't do it. What I saw was color, right? You don't need to add color. And that's also depending on what type of job you're applying for, right? If you are applying for a job where maybe adding color would be fine, then perfectly fine. Like if you're planning for a design, UI design, it might be important to talk about how you can design a UI, right? A graphical user interface. But for jobs that are software engineer based, like No, you don't need to add this color. The font is a little big for the name. I do like everything else. I'm not sure I would have added the icons. Yeah, because he added a GitHub icon for his GitHub. That's fine. And his LinkedIn is technically fine, but I would have just added the links. It makes it easier for an interviewer to quickly copy and paste and find you. The structure is very nice. As you can see, it's actually very similar to my resume that I made. I'm not trying to say that I'm the person who knows all the things, but what I'm trying to highlight here is that there is a consistent format to resumes. And actually, this overleaf example is perfect. Let me take a look at that. Actually, I guess I can't take a look at that deeper. Can I open image new tab? There it is. There it is. There we go. Okay, yeah. So like again, education starts at the top. We have our skills, we have our experience, very similar to mine. The format is literally almost exactly the same as mine, minus the fact that again, they're highlighting the company and not your role. So I don't, and especially because he worked at Facebook twice. Maybe this is just an example, but like if you're working at Facebook more than once and you're an intern at one time, but you're an engineer at the other, like I don't know what your role was before I look at your company. So it would have been better to say my role and then my company. But in terms of the structure, it's pretty good. I would have gotten rid of the color and I also would have gotten rid of the icons. But the structure, the general structure is very similar. Yeah. So that's overleaf service. I wonder if they have anything else. Templates. Let's see if they have anything else that will pack a punch. Where are we? Resumes and CVs. Whoa, definitely not this one. Please don't do that. There's multiple columns, profile. No, don't do that. This one's solid. This one's solid. This one is in Chinese. It's solid. This one's solid. Yeah. So like again, it's the structure is very similar. If you actually were to, yeah, most of these resume formats, this one's pretty good. They follow a very similar format. So you're not going to get anything new from this, but you can use it if you want, right? Good questions. Go ahead and take a look at one more. You can also ask me questions on like software development, what it was like working at like a big tech company, what it's like being laid off because I was recently laid off. How would you frame a learning bullet point? I can't see what you're speaking of. I only see your resume template. Am I still sharing my template? That's crazy. How would you frame a learning bullet point? Okay, that's good. Yeah, I need to make sure that I'm sharing the right stuff. Let me do that one more time. I'm going to share just to share and see if that, or actually, since I'll be sharing anyway, you should be able to see my screen this time. Let's make sure we share the right stuff, Yusuf. Come on. Okay. I think this one is good. Okay. Anyway, back to this template. Again, I might even post this template because I think it would be good for people to be able to just quickly grab it, or I'll send it to you. If you're someone who sent your resume to me, I'll send it back to you so that you actually can see that. But let's get into talking about learning bullet points. Now I'm going a mile a minute because I don't get to talk with people directly. I can't really slow down. I'm gonna try to slow down a little bit so it's not like you're getting just so much information. When it comes to learning bullet points, right? Let's say it's a school-based project in which we were learning something, or a project at work in which we didn't really have much to show in terms of what we did and how we did it, right? Like if you're an intern, you might not be able to say, I impacted the company's revenue by 10%. You just can't do it. So you might have a little bit more learning type bullet points. And here's how I would concoct it. I would probably see something like this. Just make this a little bigger so people can see. I don't want to start with the word learned. We could do that. But using the word learned can easily get, played out. So I want to try to find another synonym, so to speak, for learned. Practice is okay. Practiced. Right? When we say stuff like practiced, we want to either talk about practiced excellent communication, right? Soft skills is a perfect time to talk about how you're practicing things. You can always improve at soft skills. But when it comes to practice, usually I will add that type of diction or terminology to school projects that I'm using as experience, volunteer experience, or intern experience, because you're expected to learn in those particular roles. So practice agile based sprints by running. This is more Scrum. I'll say practiced Scrum based principles by running sprints in a monthly time range, conducting daily stand-up, daily team. By setting it's coming to me while I'm talking, so I'm gonna edit it as well. Conducting daily team stand-up and iterating over MVP. So MVP isn't most valuable player. It's I think most minimum viable product. So I would say releases. Okay. So if I was an intern, let's say this was my front end, or let's change it from front end developer. Let's say I was a PM, project manager. Right? Practice Scrum-based principles by setting up sprints in a monthly cadence, conducting daily team stand-ups, or daily team stand-ups, and iterating over minimum viable product releases. Perfect, right? Now I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here. Actually, I'll just copy and paste the definition of what Scrum is. What is, so that people know on the screen, what is Scrum? This. Okay. Or actually, let me just copy and paste an image of what Scrum is. So this is going to get a little interesting. If I could share my screen and I had multiple monitors, which I do plan on getting, I would be able to quickly show you what Scrum is by switching to a different screen. What I'm going to do is just post this image right quick. So this is what Scrum is. It's just a way of like running your team to continuously produce output, but then also build on things to make your product continuously evolve and develop, right? So this is kind of what Scrum looks like. You kind of iterate, you have your daily stand-ups, you have your sprint review, and then you just do it all over again. I talk more about it, but I'm not a PM, as well as the fact that I don't use Scrum currently. So that's what Scrum is. And if you were to say practice Scrum-based principles by setting up sprints in a monthly cadence, conducting daily team stand-up, and iterating over most minimum viable product releases, that's a solid learning bullet point. You can actually add more to that. You can say, as an intern, right? You did all of this. So let's change this project manager to project manager intern. Gotta just quickly deal with the format here. So tab that to completion. And then let's say we said we did all of that, right? That's the what, right? The what and the learned combined together. But let's add some more to that. We can actually talk about the impact. So I feel like the one last thing I would say is impact. Impact can slightly deviate from how much and how many, right? You can show impact by saying I increased revenue by 20%, but you can also just say I had impact, not directly by saying I had impact, right? That's not going to come across very well. It's just not going to come across as like, it's just, yeah, it leaves too much out. But to say something like I learned this thing to do this thing, is a way of saying you had impact, right? Here's what I mean. Practice Scrum-based principles by setting up sprints in a monthly cadence, conducting daily team stand-up, and iterating over minimum viable product releases to deliver a customer-facing feature in 2 months' time. The end got a little interesting, but it does get to the point, right? It's not only that I learned this thing, but it's that I learned this thing and delivered at the same time. That's powerful. If I was reading this, I'd be like, yeah, it sounds like they know what they're talking about. I wouldn't second guess them. And this is kind of how I use this learned or practice type bullet points. Not always you will be able to say like, I actually delivered something, but if you can just talk about the detail behind using a practice or learning a practice, very solid. Let's go to front-end developer. I'm going to add one here, right? Learned and applied, or again, I don't generally like to use the word learned. So it's better to use a synonym or something that's similar, like applied, right? You might have learned it, but what we're talking about here is the application, right? It's the same. It's in the same realm in my eyes. Applied OOP principles to create test-driven software. Applied test-driven and OOP principles to deliver. Oops. Right? Applied test-driven and OOP principles to deliver middle-tier business logic utilizing C#, SQL, and Node.js. I'm not sure why I added Node.js. I just wanted to add Node.js. Right? This is a simple one-liner bullet point that talks about how I'm applying these principles to do a certain thing. Again, it still is lacking in some regards. I'm making this off the top of my head. It's like, okay, cool. You use these things to do these things, but what was the impact, right? That's really what we want to know, because anyone could say they did that, but did they do it well, right? So one thing you can say if this was, again, an internship is I applied these things to deliver a project within a 2-month time frame, right? Or applied this to increase the testing percentage by 50% while delivering a customer-facing feature, right? So that's showing, hey, like I'm using these principles and I also made impact. I increased the testing coverage for code coverage over 50%. Or maybe one way to say that is applied test-driven and OOP principles to deliver middle-tier business logic utilizing all of these languages while keeping code coverage at 20 code test code coverage. I guess I'll say test code. I don't actually know the terminologies here, if they call it test code coverage at 85%. I mean, 85% is low in my eyes. It should be, yeah, 85% is fine because there's integration test and then there's your actual exposure layer. And if you're having, you don't generally test your exposure layer because it's like your UI. You might test it programmatically, but sometimes you don't. So I think that's 85% is fine. And keeping code and bug. Okay. While having a low bug rate at 2 per week. I don't know. That's actually a lot, but maybe it's not. Depends on like how big your product is. You know, the amount of clients that you have using your, because they're bound to find a bug. But this is a way to say I'm applying these principles to do a certain thing, right? Let's say I didn't impact the business so much, but I kept code test coverage at 85%, right? That's good. That's solid. I can even get rid of this. The whole 2 bugs per week. Yeah, you could add that part, but this is good. It's still saying I'm learning, but I'm applying at the same time, and that's kind of the direction I want to move. I'm gonna leave that at that and stop sharing my screen. Then check back to see if I have any other questions. We're going to kind of run this for another 20 minutes, see if there's anything else. If no one else is here, I'll just jump into the edits of resumes and I will start sending those back. So somebody said, can you tell me about your preparation for coding interviews? Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. So if you are new to the software world, I just had to push myself out for a minute. We are actually hosting, and by we I mean me. We're hosting interview prep, technical interview prep for anyone who's in the technical realm, specifically for software developers. Now, if you are in the engineering realm, I have helped because as a career advisor, you advise on basically careers in general. So we talk about technical careers as a whole, but for this particular session, I'm doing software specific. We're going to be hosting the Cracking the Coding interview review session. So I have the book right here. It's thick. I read it once. I didn't read all of it. I read most of it, and then I, just practiced a lot. But since I got laid off, I'm gonna be doing interview tech sessions. That happens at 1 p.m. Every Friday. I might have to change the dates because it conflicts with the meeting. But for now, it's at 1 p.m. And what I'm doing is I'm reading a chapter in advance, and I'm creating like a questionnaire. So this is actually a technique I developed while being in university. Instead of taking like notes, I take questions, or you can call them Cornell notes. Really, all I'm doing is I'm summarizing each paragraph into a question or multiple questions. And I created a Word doc that has all those questions for each chapter. And I'm going to send it out to anyone who shows up to that session. And we can not only go through those particular questions, but on top of that, we can actually read each chapter together in that sense. Like we're kind of meeting up each week with a chapter in mind, and we have the questions done, or we're ready to answer the questions. And even if you're not ready to answer the questions, let's say you're coming to the session, you didn't read the chapter, perfectly fine. Try to answer the questions as best as you can. And if you can't answer them, that's a perfect place to start going and learning. Then you can maybe revisit the questions and try to answer them again when you feel like you are a little bit more, I guess, read up on it. So yeah, that's how I would prepare as this book in particular, because it's going to be very technical. Like that's just how coding interviews are. And technical interviews are a little different than just the regular, behavioral questions. That being said, I do have a link, free resources, like I said, like usual. I got y'all. This one will be for essentially, how do you prepare for an interview, period? Like, what's your one-stop shop for interviews? Once again, it's going to be pulling from my career advisor days, and I'll post that link in the chat so you can actually see that there. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think that's really about it for this session. Maybe I'll just quickly share the PowerPoint that I had. Yeah, looking forward to a really good technique for learning. Yes, let me tell you, my biology days, they got me stressed out and they got me studying. So, it's one of the things I've used. But that being said, you do want to do like leak code. You can do leak code or cracking the coding interview. Not to say that I said it, but I'm pretty sure they're in somewhere on the web. There is versions of the Cracking the Coding interview book in PDF format. You might be able to find it. You might not. Yeah, if you do have the ability to buy the book, right? I do recommend it. It will help you follow along. And the person, Gail Lockman McDowell. She also has a YouTube channel where she goes over all these things. So good stuff. Let me go ahead and share one last thing. So this is actually something I like to do for fun. I guess I'm a nerd in this way. I'm gonna share my screen one more time. This will probably be the last time I share my screen before we call it. Let's see. Yep, this is the one. So I hope people can see my Yuta Baltho page, but I sometimes, because public universities generally have their career services free, this means that you can actually look at resume templates from any public university. And I know that because I've done that. And you're not doing anything shady. This is completely like fair game. I don't know if Harvard is actually public. I don't know. It might be private, but Harvard, Stanford, all of these like really high, honestly, just UCLA, right? I actually wanted to go there. Didn't get accepted, but I wanted to go there. UCLA, career services, and then resume. It's like the general standard that I type. And look at that. For free. So again, don't take my word for it. UCLA, right? Harvard, all of these different very high up universities talk about these things, and you can go and visit it for free. Usually it's an alumni or something like that, but perfectly fine. Stuff like how to build your resume, reflect on your experience, emphasize your results, the resume format. Now they actually paste it directly onto the page. I wouldn't have done that, but they done it that way. Resume content, additional categories, and then it looks like they have a bullet point worksheet. They have something that breaks down the difference between a CV and a resume. Very good. And they have information about cover letters, but I'm curious on if they have an actual resume. I'm kind of plotting right now. I'm low-key plotting on this because I want to see if they have it. Download and build your resume. Bullet points. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, this talks about exactly what I was just saying. Like what you did, how you did it, elaborate on the details and the results. I like to say impact. Yeah, that's nice. Whoa, yeah. I'm proud of myself because I'm like, your boy was saying good stuff. Yeah. So this is good. UCLA has a career services. This is exactly what I'm preaching on. And it's, again, all of this is free. So don't take my word for it. Please go and see these things for yourself, and please share these things for yourself. The only reason why I'm not on LinkedIn broadly broadcasting UCLA and their career services, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. They are a public institution, or they're a business in some speak, and I don't know if I have the ability to like broadcast their name. But this is exactly what I was talking about. This resource I'm actually going to save because it's good. I'll save it as business. Done. Yeah, that's good. UCLA, hats off to you. I started talking some stuff, but I changed my opinion. UCLA's got it going on. This is their resume and cover letter PDF. Talks about how to build it. I wonder if they give me an example. They have the bullets. They have verbs. This is nice. Yuta Baltho has it too, so they're not special. There's CV versus resume, basic resume template. Yeah, solid stuff. Name, get rid of your city and state. You never need that. All this is good. Objective, which is also your summary, very good. Education, good. Skills, good. Experience, good. Leadership experience. Again, they're saying leadership experience, and then at the end they have volunteer and community. Never saw this before, but this is actually solid stuff. UCLA, again, hats off to you. Of course, they have Handshake. That makes perfect sense. I think UCLA is actually a public university or a state university. So, but yeah, they're doing well. So yeah, again, Yuta Baltho will tell you the same thing. It's not going to be any different, right? You click on our how to write a resume, you click on the guidelines. Yuta Baltho is a satellite school from UW Seattle, so it's smaller in scale, but it's going to say the same stuff roughly. Resume writing guidelines. Yeah, same thing. That's pretty solid. Action verbs. I think this is a similar. Oh no. They made me download a page. I didn't want to download something. The action verbs is like a sheet. That's pretty much what UCLA had, but you have to anyway. And then we have a bunch of. The reason why I like Udapauthal though is they have these general sample templates. You click on them, it downloads for you, and you can actually just edit the template directly. If you didn't know, now you know. Okay. I'll stay on for until 10:40, 10:45, and if no one else has any questions or people are good, then it's good. You need to do a lot of practicing how to solve problems, isn't it? So for technical interviews, yes and no. Yes, in the fact that you do need to practice a lot, but what you're practicing isn't trying to memorize how to solve this particular problem. So I guess the best way to say it is like when you are doing interview prep, it's better not to focus on the specific problem that you're trying to solve and more the technique that you're using to solve it. That's what gets a lot of people, I guess, stuck because they're like, I gotta memorize, I gotta memorize, I gotta memorize. I'm like, it's not about memorization. You're an engineer, right? It's about analytically being able to find an answer, right? Logical, analytical reasoning. That's literally what it means to be an engineer. That is the skill set, that's the base skill set of what you are going to be doing as a software engineer. So if you focus too much on trying to memorize a particular answer or even get the answer right, you're missing a lot of the steps in between. And I think what Cracking the Coding interview does very well is it tries to highlight that particular issue. She talks about how, a lot of people try to either get the answer right or they just try to solve it real quickly. And that's not the thing. The technical interview, you want to be able to speak to your interviewer. You want to say, hey, here's how I'm solving the problem. Here's my thought process. That is what they're looking for, rather than you solving a particular problem, getting it right. So yeah, I mean, you do have to practice, but what you're practicing, I feel like, is just different. It's a little different than just trying to get things done. Yeah. Okay. I think we're not at time, but I think we're in zero people. I have one person watching. I wonder if that's me because I have my YouTube open. I didn't think I could have the streaming service open as well. So I'm going to close this. Yeah, if we stay at 0 for a while, I'll just close it. I'll just close it out. I'll just call it good. But thanks again for showing up. Again, I have your resumes. If you send them to me, thank you so much. I will be editing them asynchronously. Also, I have this on Eventbrite. I think I want to change that to a meetup. I'm not so sure if it's going to be an event or a meetup. I used Eventbrite first because it's free, but I think Meetup also is free. I don't know. We'll see. And if it is, I'll probably move on to that platform for hosting. Yeah, if anyone has any other questions, please put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'll just keep rambling. It's weird. It's weird. Like, this is my first time streaming. It's weird to do this without having to talk to people. I might have to invite people on the stream so it feels normal. Oh, my pleasure. Yeah. Happy to help. That's one of the things I've done for a while is just give back my resources. Like, I think literally I've always been the type of person to want to share what I have, right? The gifts or my interests, my passions with people. And whenever I have a platform or a space to do it, it's my pleasure. Don't even think about it, right? Let's get you a job. Then you can thank me by taking me out for food. No, I'm kidding. Or am I? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I just want to make sure that, I've been impacted by layoffs. I was in my career search phase and I had a lot of great mentors who helped me get to where I'm at. So I'm trying to be that person for other people. For sure. Cool. I guess I will take it back to my resume and I'll just close this out by editing mine in real time. Man, I just opened up that Swiss cheese and I was like, Don't do the Swiss cheese resume. No. It's not for you. Okay. Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for showing up. Thank you, everyone who stopped by. Again, this live stream will be live. You can take a look at it. It's going to be long, so I'll try to make a resume review video that's a little bit more concise. Dang. Let's see. Where did I put my resume? Gotta organize my drive a little bit more. Oh, here it is. Let me just push this in documents. So, do I want to share this? It does have my personal number. I'll get rid of it for now. I'll get rid of my personal number for now. Save that, because everything else is my professional based information. So it's like, yeah. Okay, first things, so this is the second thing I need to do. I need to actually update my resume for adding another experience. So the last 15 minutes, I'll probably do that. I'll keep a split screen just in case anyone shows up. Right now I have zero views, but for the 2 people who showed up, y'all are the legends. I just want to let you know you're legends. Yeah, thanks for showing up, and I hope it was impactful. I'm going to go ahead and edit my resume and share my screen while doing so. Cool. So first things first, I'm going to change this. And to do so, I actually need to access my LinkedIn because let's see. I feel like when I'm working, I get dead serious. So I stop smiling. I'm just like, but I'm not mad or anything. I just need to focus. And it's like, I'm trying to focus deeply. Who is this? What chatbot is messaging me now? Okay. So I got hired on my new team. Let's see when I got hired on. It was, yeah, when did I get hired on? This is hard because I left my old team for a newer team, I think in July. It might have been July. I'm gonna say because I worked there from 2020. July 21. I think it was like July 2022. About a year. Yeah. 0 people on the stream. If I still have 0 the next 5, I'm gonna call it. Actually, I have 0 now, and I've been here for an hour and 30. No, I'll stay. This will be like the Easter egg at the very end of the stream where I'm just here by myself, talking to myself, just being weird, I guess. No, we'll end it. We'll end it now. We'll end it now, and I will edit people's resumes instead of editing my own because that's the goal of this session. So thanks for showing up. Yeah, I'm gonna keep posting these, keep sharing some information, and I'll also post videos. Speaking of, kind of summarizing quickly the information that I had, so you don't have to parse through such a long video. Thanks for showing up, everyone. Appreciate you all, and yeah, see you all next time. Bye.